Now, what I need to know is your characters' names, races, classes, right? And then I need to know whether or not you've been to Waterdeep before, to what extent those visits were, right? Whether or not you spent a long time there or you were just passing through, right? To gauge your familiarity with the city, right? And then whether or not you have been to, folded into that, whether you've been to the Yawning Portal before, right? The tavern and inn, and whether or not you know Volo. Okay? Just a couple things like, is your character familiar with Waterdeep and Volo and Yawning Portal, or are they like complete novices, right? Neophytes. So let's start with Robert. Robert, what's your character's name?
Her name is Raven Duskstar.
Raven, spelled the bird way, I assume.
Yeah.
And then Duskstar,
Yeah, just spelled exactly how.
spelled like it sounds. Okay.
She's a half-elf ranger.
Half-elf ranger.
And she's an urban bounty hunter, so I imagine she lives and works in Waterdeep and pretty much knows.
Okay, so she is a regular in Waterdeep. She lives there and she works the streets there. That's her job.
Yeah.
So she works, from what I understand.
I was going to say.
Doesn't quite work the
There's
streets.
work in the
but-
streets, there's work in the streets.
But taking it to the streets.
Absolutely.
Just like the Doobie Brothers
Yes.
was saying.
So you probably work in tandem with the City Watch and certain noble families who, within the law, are able to pay you and say, "Go find this guy."
Yeah.
And bring the either it's carte blanche, like dead or alive, or bring them in, so that we can have them prosecuted. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, since Robert shared her character's background, I'll also like to know the background as well. Like just the acolyte, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Urban bounty hunter. So my understanding, Robert, is that Raven knows Waterdeep, probably knows the Yawning Portal. I mean, if you've been to Waterdeep, it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And is familiar with Volo. Has she met him personally?
Probably not, but
Okay.
she's heard a lot about him, which is
Well,
probably
sure.
why she hasn't met him personally.
Right, right. Okay. Nick?
Sure. The character I am playing, one second, please.
Loaded. This way.
One moment, please. The character I'm playing is Al-Cid Primanti.
AL-Cid?
Yes.
CID?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What was that last name?
Primanti, Primanti.
Vermont.
He is
I love
a
your sandwiches.
human warlock,
Human warlock.
courtier background.
Courtier? Courtier? Okay. So, regular of Waterdeep or not?
Yes, long-time resident.
Long-time resident of Waterdeep.
The
First-time adventure.
yeah, something like that. I believe the angle of the character is that he is kind of a borrow a diplomat of sorts. Like he is like like an arbitrator, a broker,
A negotiator.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Good, thank you. I was like, there's a better word at the core of all this. And so, like, has seen the city and has met different people. If maybe not like to some great extent, but at least like hears or sees or knows people.
Sure.
People
you have your finger on a good pulse of the city, and you've met people of varying sort of social strata, right? Okay.
Made a deal with a particular demon for devilish charm.
Well, who hasn't?
Yeah.
Right. So, have you been to the Yawning Portal before?
Yes.
Okay.
I assume, because is the Yawning Portal huge? Is it is it?
It's
well,
a big. It's well known and it's a big deal.
That's what I figured. Okay.
Adventure. It's like the adventurer's inn and tavern.
Right.
Now, it's far from the only large tavern/inn in Waterdeep. There are plenty of them, but if you're an adventurer, either retired or active, or you've got that kind of you live that kind of lifestyle, right? The Yawning Portal is where you go.
With direct access to the Underdark.
Direct access to Undermount.
Underbound.
Yeah. So, okay. Do you know Volo?
Probably not personally. It's one of the, again. It's one of those floating names, and probably very eager to meet him.
By reputation.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like that's the most, like for him, the most striking detail of the whole thing.
Volo.
Like I need this. I
The
need
Volo?
this.
Yeah, cool. All right. Yeah, you wanna have that in your back pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Stephen?
Playing Nora Graves.
Nora.
Yep.
Graves.
Yep.
Detective.
Half-elven druid. The spy background.
Half-elven druid.
What's your race now?
Human. It won't be exactly schematic. Kind of schematic.
Half-elf druid.
We'll see once we
Spy.
start role playing.
Spy's a subset of criminal. That's right. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, cool.
Spy. And are you a Waterdeep resident?
Resident, no, but a semi-frequent visitor.
Frequenter?
Bringing contraband and supplies in from the other side of the wall often. So I've got a fence in the city, somebody I know, that whole background feature.
Fence in the city. Got it. Okay, so you don't live here, but you ply your trade here, so you... Yeah, among other cities. So you're there for business quite a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. Waterdeep visitor. Okay. And Tom, your character's name?
The name is Rhys, R-H-Y-S. Arnum, A-R-N-U-M.
A-R-N-U-M. And what is Rhys?
He is a thief.
What race is he?
Rogue. Oh, race. Half drow.
Half drow
On his mother's side.
thief. Well, rogue, right.
Rogue, yeah.
And his background?
Criminal.
Makes sense.
But I do actually have a pretty good backstory for him. Where I have a backstory, and it could intersect with any or all.
Always
of
fun.
these.
Okay, well let's figure that out.
So he was born in Waterdeep,
Okay, born and raised. Yeah.
but he had been hired as either a guard for a noble or the city watch. Somehow he was working closely with a noble,
Mm-hmm.
and the noble was caught doing something nefarious.
Mm-hmm.
And just looking at the laws there, it seems to make sense that he blamed me for bribing him.
Sure.
So I took the hit
took the
because of
fall.
course the drows, the evil drows.
Well, of course, yeah.
So he was actually pretty straight and narrow up until that point. He had been spent 10 years in prison in Waterdeep, and then he was exiled for another 10 years. So he's just now coming back.
I see. So okay.
So he's a little bit older than most starting characters. He's 47, but
Right,
he's
so
half
drow.
drow, so he's going to live forever.
Which to a drow is nothing. Yeah.
Right,
Oh, I never even thought about that. So you say it's half drow?
half drow. Yeah, it's
What?
Sword Coast.
Oh,
Sword
wow.
Coast, you can do half drow.
Nice.
That's
And
right. Yeah, we always forget about the Sword Coast guy.
And so his features are mostly human.
Mm-hmm.
He never lies about being a half drow, but he also
We'll go.
Doesn't
tries to
volunteer
obscure it a little
for it?
bit.
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
looks mostly human anyway. But it's not. Somebody would definitely, if they gave him more than a cursory inspection, they would know.
They'd see those
ears.
features.
Yeah.
Right? The slight. Yeah.
I mean,
Is
if
it
you
like
just kind of look
charcoal
at him, he
skin?
looks like maybe a darker skinned elf, and he grows facial hair, but his hair is white. So,
Mm.
so if anybody
Dead
really kind
giveaway.
of puts things together, they can
Right.
figure it out. But anyway, so with that story, he could really kind of fit in with any or all.
Okay.
And so as I was saying, he was kind of straight and narrow until that happened, and
Right.
now he kind of has this bitter
Resentment.
view because he was blamed just because of his race.
Sure.
He
yeah.
was completely innocent. He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then,
Or was he?
starting with his jail time, and then with his exile, he picked up the criminal elements.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna be called a criminal, you're gonna do the time.
Might as
Why
well
not
do
lean
it.
into it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Sounds good.
10 years.
So, well, let's talk about. Well, that's good. Now let's talk about character connections. Okay. So, let's go around then, and let's start with Tom and go back around. Okay, so Tom, is Rhys familiar with Raven, Al-Cid, or Nora?
Well, it could be, and that's why, because you have the criminal background, so you said you're a fence, right? So that...
Well,
Got a fence.
No,
in
you
the
have
sense.
the fencing, okay.
Yeah, I'm the one who brings things from the outside in.
So we would probably at least know each other. Or of each other, maybe.
know of each other, maybe use the same fence,
Yeah.
but not you're not there at the same time. It's like,
Right.
oh, right, that
I
guy.
mean, we're both first level, so it's not like we're
Yeah.
famous or anything.
Sure,
We
yeah.
always see each other leaving.
Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah.
We might
Sounds
have a
good.
nodding acquaintance or something.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a link, right? You don't have to link with everybody. I just want
Right,
just want like at least one link. So cool. All right. So the two of you kind of use the same fence and kind of move in that same circle, and like, or at least you used to anyway. Now you've come back to the city.
Right.
You know. Okay. Sounds good. Steven,
Damn, you took mine.
too bad.
Yeah.
Raven, Al-Cid.
I mean, as I said, I think I could fit in easily with anybody, so...
Well,
Yeah, I
I've
like
got
this
a
outlook.
criminal contact in the underworld, so I could know you.
Yeah, but I don't know. With a bounty hunter, I'm like half and half on that, where it's like,
They're not the City Watch,
yeah.
but still the authority.
Oh, she's
yeah.
like,
They get
They're
the
half
City
the
Watch
man.
pays them to do the work they don't want to do. So it's one where like
well, her thing is she does get her hands dirty, so other people don't have to. So she works with the underworld.
but in that sense of like, yeah, I work with the mafia, I kill them, sort of feel to it. I feel like my character would be a little shy of you, especially if you have any sort of reputation in the city as a fixer of problems, because
Well,
I could potentially be
She's
a
pretty young,
problem.
so she probably doesn't have a big reputation yet.
Hmm.
Up and coming.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think like how I could connect with Al-Cid, because you're a bit of a negotiator.
Yeah,
Have
I
you-
like the thing that like my clientele is anywhere, anyone and everyone, right? So it's like between
Would you say no to somebody who needed something smuggled into the city, and you went and found someone?
yeah. If you're looking for like maybe like a contact, that's someone that's also like a slew of services. I
Right.
provide.
You're not participating in the crime, but you can facilitate it.
I can yeah. I
and
can,
then say like, no,
for the-
I have nothing to do with
yeah,
it.
for the right price, I can find you who you need to find,
Find.
and maybe get you an audience.
As it goes.
Yeah,
So I might be a contact for you. One of like, oh, she's kind of up and coming. If you need something in the city,
yeah. If you need a little something,
small, it's not going to be like she can't get a crate in, but you
Yeah.
can get smaller items, knickknacks.
So Nora's name is on your Rolodex. So
Right.
Yeah.
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 On my BlackBerry.
in your detective's office.
Speaking of Al-Cid,
Mhm.
do you connect with any of these people on a more tangible level?
What's the general idea of your backstory again? You're a bounty hunter that does you're just doing dirty deeds done to cheap.
Thanks, Metallica.
That's ACDC.
Ah, damn it.
Yeah.
Oh, shame.
She likes to stay within the law, but she realizes she has to get her hands dirty sometimes.
Sure, there's strains of vigilante there. Right.
She takes the Batman approach where
Sure.
she basically upholds the law, but she does some questionable things.
In her own unique way that is adjacent to the police, but not necessarily with them.
Do you freelance work?
But yeah, you could probably handle contracts with nobles and stuff for her.
Right. It's mostly a like I have probably hired a bodyguard or two in my time for something more high profile.
Some more sensitive
yeah,
stuff.
some more sensitive
Yeah.
things, and so that's easy enough to be like. But especially coming back to Tom's character, I think that would be much easier because being like some hired muscle, especially coming back around now, right?
Well, that would have been 20 years
Years
ago.
ago. Yeah.
Well, that's
This is-
so you're starting coming in now.
Yeah, he was.
Okay,
in
I didn't know
he
if
was
you've
in
had
prison
some
in
grace
Waterdeep
period.
for 10 years, and
Not
then he was
exiled for
for 10
another
years.
Okay, so you were starting that like as okay.
He
Gotcha.
puts
So
boots on the
game will
ground,
start
like
with you literally like making your way through the gate as the guard's
Yeah.
like,
Could be, or I mean, you
You're
could have
clear.
been back for a while too.
your exile is over in 3, 2, 1, and go.
Cool. So it'd be easy enough if you are someone to either to sell your services or have your services lent by some other, like one of your employers, for me to borrow. It's easy enough for me to know your name there. Otherwise, I'm pretty much okay with just hearing or knowing, like, just names or not having anybody.
I mean, that's up to you. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to come in, blank in that way, then that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think that'll be okay for him.
Okay.
I do like the idea of having a
Professional contact.
A name
Yeah,
A
not
na-
a personal.
in your
name.
head. Yeah.
right. So
Okay.
We've probably never met.
no,
It's just
probably.
dead drops and other fun stuff like that.
Right.
So, Raven, do you know any of these fools?
Well,
I'm also cool if you have a cool idea to bring any of us in our meeting, but I just have nothing off the top of my head. So.
well, basically, how I get work is like the city guard posts the bounty for some entity, or they will post the bounty. And I was thinking maybe, well, yeah, I know a person that can do that fairly cheap because she's fairly new. And it's like, my name, but
So, like Nora, the two of you have never met, but as part of your services, you're like, I know a couple of bounty hunters. I got one that's cheap and new. Like, here you go.
There's a name on a board.
Yeah.
Okay, so Al-Cid knows the names of Nora and Raven, but hasn't formally met them before. Okay, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's got a little bit of a connection there. And now I know that everyone has at least a good familiarity, if not a great familiarity. Excuse me, with the city. Okay, sounds good. So,
Tom, what's your character's name?
Rhys, R-H-Y-S.
R.H.
YS,
God.
like Jonathan Rhys Myers, is that right? Yeah. Okay, everybody roll a d20.
Yes.
Let's get fortune out of the way.
Positive.
Positive.
Negative.
Negative.
negative. Ten's negative, right?
Negative. Yeah, it's got to be
That is
11 or
negative.
higher.
Can
For
I have
us.
some dice maybe to borrow? Sorry.
I have a set if you want a nice color-coded set.
I know. I thought I brought my
Rubber red.
red would be great. Thank you.
Oh, the D10 no one ever uses.
Hey, I might actually have get some play.
Nice.
3. Sophia?
Very good. Okay.
We're off to a great
So,
No, this is a good start.
Yeah,
Little-
this is
Means it
good.
can only go up.
a little difficult on the fortune scale. We got 1. It's positive.
You can thank me when we don't use it.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So,
Let's see here.
That just means he's gonna do all the bad stuff, but he's still got full hit points.
I'll do it whenever
See
I
how
like.
that goes.
Okay. Are we all ready to go then?
Yeah. Maximize the character sheet.
Enhance.
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 Vertical hold.
Thank you. So, if I can actually get to the page I need. For your reference, on the calendar, you are all in Waterdeep on the 21st of Martul. Martul, known as the Melting. It is the month in which winter finally gives way to spring, right? When the sort of wet and damp of Waterdeep, slicking its cobblestones and slicking its eaves, has finally begun to turn away, and the warmth of summer is coming. Now you are on there on the 21st, so you have already been. By this point, Waterdeep there's not a lick of snow or anything left, but there's still the occasional like shower or sort of blustery cold day. But otherwise, the weather and the feel is inching quickly. Is rapidly moving towards summer.
I think we definitely want to be here for Hormoot. I mean, it sounds promising. It's not spelled correctly, but it sounds good.
Yeah.
So basically, the city's just starting back up from winter.
No, that makes sense. Horn.
No, you've been in.
If you're looking for some horn, yeah.
I thought it was
By the time you come into the city, by the time that our campaign starts, winter is pretty much over. Now it's like the first. This is like the first week of spring, right? Or rather, the second week, right? So now things have.
Early April.
So the city's been sort of like out of winter mode for a week and a half or so, like that, and so things are,
winter is leaving.
Yes.
To coin a phrase.
Yes, if you will. Yeah. So the snow is melting, flowers are beginning to bloom, like the weather's warming up, and the city's beginning to get a lot more activity now. People are pouring in, especially tourists and business people, because, hey, this is one of the perfect times to visit the city. It's great, it's breezy, sun's out, everything's good. On the western shores of Faerun lies the city of Waterdeep. It's a place of business for many, opportunity for others, and it's called home by countless thousands, but everyone knows it as the City of Splendor. Its history is old. It's older than the noble families that rule in the upper wards. It's older than Baldur's Gate or Icewind Dale, older even than Neverwinter Forest and the great plains that succumbed to the spell plague and the calamity. It has preserved. Its history is contiguous. The city behind its high white walls has never fallen. And this is the hub of many races who make up the spanning castes, the city of spectrums. Great wealth and oppressive poverty, festivals and fairs, crime and corruption, adventure and intrigue, and pampering and imbibing. A dichotomous city. Nobles of the North Ward who parade through the streets and throw elegant balls just to flaunt their wealth. And that's just beyond the walls that divide them from the field ward homes that hold 1,000 hungry mouths. Some of them old beggars, others children made orphans by parents' vice or war or both. Each of its 7 wards houses humans, tieflings, dwarves, half-orcs, elves, dragonborn, and half another world of creatures. It's a melting pot. Merchants can be heard calling out the contents of their stalls in the trades ward. Smells of freshly caught fish, ripe fruits and spices brought in by traders who travel over the Sea of Swords. The streets of Castle Ward are pristine, patrolled by guards who don colorful and exquisite armor. Statues that act as street signs, pointing toward the courthouse, a local theater, or the king's extravagant castle. Just beyond that crimeless castle ward is the Sea Ward, home to a dozen religions with gaudy temples, some built of stone, others carved straight into massive statues the size of titans that loom over the entire city. Their features sometimes disappear into the sky when the clouds hang low or a fresh morning fog rolls in from the sea. They've been still for so long that houses have begun to appear near, around, and on them. At one time their names were known, and their histories told often, but the city's old, and the people have, in time, lost those stories. In the dock ward, amidst the sea foam and the smell of salt water, raucous laughter, or murderous shouting, sometimes it's hard to know the difference between them, all of this can be heard from behind brightly lit tavern windows. Salty dogs partake in bouts of violence. Brawls go hand in hand with hard liquor, and the liquor flows like water. The dark alleys that pepper this ward, the dock ward, are the hunting grounds for cutthroats. Busy harbor, a playing field for a thief with sticky fingers. Nobles avoid this place, not only for the inherent danger, but as the general smell. Like a lamb wandering into a pack of wolves, they know not to broach that area. There's a great graveyard called the City of the Dead. It's sitting in the eastern portion. It houses countless lost souls from 7 and 7 and 7 generations past. Walls have been erected around it. Guards patrol it in case any upstart necromancer is looking for flesh for dark magics. No dead wander about. It's but a large graveyard, but that doesn't stop the children from telling ghost stories or daring one another to sneak in and stay the night. The adults say that's childish, but even a grown man is superstitious enough that he wouldn't partake in any kind of dare of that sort. And on the southern side of the city looms Mount Waterdeep itself, a natural landmark that sweetens an already impressive-looking city. Now it catches the morning sun first and glows like a beacon. It once housed the original denizens that started the city of Waterdeep. Tunnels and mines run through its core, but it's long since been abandoned. Or so the city thought. There's been rumblings in the dark. Sounds from the old mines, a patrol disappearing here and there. Some say it's a troll, perhaps underdark creatures striking in the night. Others rumor that there's a mage that's took residence there. He experimented on things better left untouched. He went mad. Some say on cold, still nights you could hear his laughter echoing off the mountainside. But that's a story for another time. This story has more humble beginnings. The four of you, Raven, Al-Cid, Nora, and Rhys, start your adventure in the warmth of the yawning portal tavern and inn. Right now you sit around a sturdy wooden table lit by a brightly burning candle littered with plates of cleared food, half-drained tankards. You can hear gamblers yelling, drunken adventurers singing bawdy songs, and all of this is just about enough to drown out the off-key strumming of a young bard 3 tables over. The place is packed. It's full of activity and noise and life. It is clearly a tavern not for nobles, but for people who live. Capital L. And you are there at this table in the yawning portal, awaiting your contact, Volo Thamp Gedar, Volo himself, of Volo's Guide to Monsters, and many other, many and sundry publications. So, let's get a description of what you all look like as you are sitting around this table. Who wants to go first? Don't all jump at once.
Oh, no, I'll start.
Well, no, you can't start.
Oh, well,
Everybody except
Yeah, well, that's understood. Go ahead.
no, they said we can't.
No, oh, okay. Oh, no, all right, so we're doing this now. Okay.
I was saying you want
No,
to say
all right. The adventure's over. Oh, look, campaign's done. Thanks for coming, guys.
You can buy Nick.
You messed up rule number 1, Nick.
I know. I'm so sorry.
I see how it is.
I said there was. You guys only said there was like one rule. All right. So, Al-Cid's appearance is one you could describe as always mischievous looking. He has sharp features, a tan, about normal height, sharp, defined features on an otherwise not physically impressive looking man. Has long, flowing, actually not flowing, but very neatly kept long black hair and a facial hair that's like a full goatee that's very well groomed, pointed, and accompanied also by a clothing that is, at least right now, a mixture of if something maybe the equivalent of business casual or post working hours, where like it's very nice clothing but still very like relaxed, right? Like buttons unbuttoned, shirt like sleeves rolled up, very much relaxed. Where you can tell that maybe perhaps an hour or 2 hours, so many hours ago, may have been a little bit more put together. So. Otherwise, yeah, it's kind of the image I'm projecting. So,
All right. Well, Nora's probably about 5'7", a little on the shorter end. Always seems to be wearing a hooded cloak, kind of a darker green tinge to it. Has red hair and like jade green eyes. You can tell the half-elf ears kind of give it away. Not quite as long as the elven heritage,
But a little pointier than your average humans.
yeah. Does a fairly good job keeping them covered and out of the sight of anybody who could potentially identify it. Always seems to be like looking over her shoulder, never really focusing on whoever she's talking to. It's always about what's going on around.
So rude.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's unprofessional.
Well, Raven's just shy of 6 feet.
Mm-hmm.
She wears like very dark gray clothes with a black cloak. She has platinum blonde hair tied down in a braid around her back. It's very long.
Mm-hmm.
And her facial features lean more towards elvish than human.
Okay, yeah. Favors the elven heritage there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Sharp, angular features.
Rhys is 6 feet tall, on the slender side. He wears dark clothing, but not black, although some pieces might be black.
Sure, like
Almost
brown.
looks like something to blend into shadows, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Also, everything about his about his look says that he's trying not to be noticed.
So the clothing that he's wearing is not ostentatious. It's unremarkable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very,
By design.
Very plain, very unnoticeable.
so 3 half-elves?
After Al, and 2 half elves.
So technically, yeah, I mean, half.
That is so great.
All coming from all walks of
It's
life.
what a great representation of diversity here. Wonderful.
And then the token human.
The token human.
Gotta have one.
Gotta have one.
So similar to Nora's appearance, I guess, he always has the hood up, kind of obscuring as much of his face as he can. And he definitely favors the more human features. But as I said before, if somebody really studied him, they would.
Stand out.
If they had a little bit of knowledge of races, they would definitely pick it up. I guess that's it. He's quiet, but not rude or evasive.
Sure, he says what he needs to say, but doesn't go beyond.
But doesn't go beyond.
Makes sense. Okay. So you are all sitting here in the yawning portal. It's been probably about 15 or 20 minutes since you've arrived. You expected to see Volo by now, or at least be met by him at the door, but you've seen neither hide nor hair of him so far. And it's become difficult to even pick him out because the yawning portal at this time of the day, midday, is crowded. There's all kinds of people milling about, and the noise and the smells and everything are kind of disorienting. Luckily, cutting through the din, a healthy-looking human woman with sort of auburn hair and eyebrows, wearing a puffy shirt with a light green doublet. Well, not a doublet exactly, but a light green vest around which has been laced a corset. The typical look of a barmaid has come up to the table with what looks like a couple of tankards that have been emptied at her side, straddling her hip. And she says, "What can I get for you lads?"
Oh, good to see you as always, Bunny. About ale.
Well, of course, anything for you, Raven. I suspect you'll be paying us pretty soon, right?
Don't I always?
No. That's okay. I know.
Business has been good.
I know what your business is like. So, what about the rest of you? These are your friends, are they?
Not really, no.
I see. Well, you're welcome here regardless.
Who? I guess is anybody a frequent patron of? I know you said you are. I guess it goes to show that I know Cid makes his way in and out within some time.
Sure.
Not his most mainstay, but he knows. Yeah.
Mhm.
So.
No, definitely not. Probably
Okay.
the first time I've been here.
Friends, don't worry. First one's on me.
A gentleman.
I do what I can.
We've got ales, we've got wines, whatever you like.
An ale will do.
Certainly. And what general quantity are you looking for?
A pint.
Just a pint.
Yes.
You know we offer sizes bigger than that.
A pint would be fine.
Fair enough. I don't want to push you to what you don't want. Okay. All right. It's a pint of ale. You want your usual. Do you want your even? All right. You, sir?
Red wine.
Red wine. Ah, a discerning taste.
The man has excellent taste, and I will have what he's had.
One of those. Very good. 2 red wines, pint of ale, and the Raven Special.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I'll be back in just a moment, folks. And you begin to hear, as she is sauntering off to fetch your drinks, you hear that breaking through the laughter and the yelling and the music is this pounding noise. It sounds like fists on tables. And you begin to hear this chant rising up from everyone as the other sounds are dying down, and it seems like the whole clientele of the tavern of the Yawning Portal is joining in. Dip, 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 dip. And you see that everyone's eyes, apart from yours of course, are suddenly turned to a young human man, at the bar. He has moved towards the bar, face to face with the owner of the Yawning Portal, Durnan himself. He slams down a gold coin right on the table, and then at a nearby bell, silver hand, like a sort of a desk bell, if you will, that you might find in a hotel. He rings it, ding, and you see Durnan lean over and exchange some barely audible words with him. He nods, and then he turns sort of out towards the entire Yawning Portal and says, "We got a dipper!" And everyone, yeah! And they're all cheering, and then you see that Bonnie, your barmaid who took the drink orders, begins circulating around the tables, saying, "All right, so I need your name, and I need bets. Okay, so we're going to put down for you. You want a couple of silver pieces, right?" And begins working the room as everyone begins chatting excitedly and nervously about what's about to happen. You see that young man turn around, and with the help of a friend or maybe a fellow patron, he begins doffing his entire armor, his uniform, his clothes, until the point where he's just in his skivvies. And he walks slowly, cautiously, up to a extended platform that juts out over the massive 40-foot in diameter hole in the middle of the Yawning Portal. The titular Yawning Portal that you know leads to Undermountain and has been the bane of many adventurers over the years. You see him reach the very end. He takes a nearby rope onto which has been put a kind of a stirrup at the bottom, which is attached to a winch that is clearly meant to lower things into this massive yawning hole. He places one foot into the stirrup, wraps his other leg around it, and looks at Durnan, who has now taken his place next to a large wheel that is with spokes that is connected to this winch system. Gives again another nod. You see the young man gives another nod, a little less confident now. You can see in his face. And then Durnan says, "Good luck out there." And slowly the young man is lowered into the yawning portal to Undermountain. And the rest of the crowd erupts in cheers. There's some jeers here and there, and people are chatting nervously. You hear a couple of voices saying, I bet I'm going to hear that bell run in like 3 minutes, I'm going to put 2 copper on that. The person says, I've got 5 silver pieces, and he makes it down and brings back the cap. And there's all this chatter and so on. And you see that Bonnie has returned to your table, finally, with the drinks you ordered, and is kind of shaking her head with a sort of a weariness. Here's your ale, your red wine, and the mix is a little off, so be careful about that one. There you go. And anything else I can get for you, lads?
Nope, I think we'll just enjoy the entertainment.
What'd she say?
All right. Well, do let me know if you need anything, and if I haven't said so already, welcome to the Yawning Portal. She gives a kind of a slight bow, at the waist, and then saunters off. And you can see that at this point, the young man in the stirrup has completely disappeared into the darkness of the Yawning Portal. And the general chatter and excitement in the room has begun to die down as people as the rush of this experience has begun to subside. It goes back to the kind of level of chatter and excitement that you heard before, this general din of the tavern.
What time did he say he'd be here?
I've always understood the man to be somewhat of a flake.
Volo did specify in his note that he would meet all of you in the main room of the Yawning Portal at midday. It is now 20 minutes past midday.
Well, there's something to say about traversing town at about midday, about this, this section of the city. Perhaps he's held up. He seems to be a very important man.
There's also something they say. You can never trust good experiences.
How wise. As Al-Cid returns to like a little journal with some stuff he's working on. So
Just gonna be nursing the ale.
Sounds good.
Keeping an eye around.
Rhys, Raven, either of you, are you simply drinking, or are you actively scanning the crowd?
Oh no, I'm scanning the crowd. I don't touch my drink.
Okay, so give me a perception check.
That's a 17. Jack.
17. Very good. So you are able to scan the crowd. You see all manner of people: humans, dwarves, halflings.
15. Sorry.
People. Oh, well, 15. You see nothing. Humans, dwarves, halflings, elves, all manner of people in all manner of garb. You don't see too much finery. You don't see many nobles in here at all. But there's all kinds of people from the middle and lower classes. They look like adventurous sorts. There's a kind of air about them that is very much like, sword first. In fact, nothing says that so much as a nearby table. It's about 2 tables away from you. You can see that suddenly these rough-looking figures, they're all humans. They're all men. They're all wearing this sort of like light leather garb. And one of them has a shaved head, which has been covered with eye-shaped tattoos all over his pate. And you see him. He has actively pushed a 7-foot-tall half-orc out of the way. And he shouts, "You pig, you like killing my mates, do you?" And you see that this half-orc, in staggering backward, bumps into your table, almost spilling over your drinks. You see this half-orc right herself.
I'll write down behind him.
Okay. This half-orc rights herself. She cracks her knuckles audibly. She gets into a kind of an animal-like stance and roars. It begins to it actually cuts through the din of the tavern. And she leaps at the guy with the eye tattoos on his head. And sure enough, as soon as that happens, a crowd of spectators begins to leave their tables and kind of circle around the area. Sure enough, we have a proper tavern brawl.
I'm circling around the area.
Okay, so you want to check out? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're in the audience there?
Yeah.
Okay, what about the rest of you?
I will not pay attention to the brawl at all and see what else is going on.
Okay, sounds good. You?
Probably the same.
Okay.
Keep an eye on the room.
Our friend Sid? How's Sid?
With now like half spectacles on, just attending to some paperwork and stuff that he has, just peers out every once in a while to check that there's no incoming ballistic.
Right.
This is otherwise.
There's an orc coming right at us.
I actually think during this brawl, just he appears up. So what do the rest of you want to see? Why do the rest of you want to see Volo?
Volo wanted to see us.
Some chairs are being flung.
So
you see Raven as you're circling around this thing. That this half orc is also in kind of a basic leather dress with boots and everything like that. Leather outfit, I should say. Blue skin, pointy ears, 2 teeth tusks coming up from the bottom lip, with sort of blackish bluish hair. Is one of these human figures on one arm, another human figure on another, and is sort of moving her fists around, sort of rapidly swinging these characters to and fro as she's trying to land blows and kicks on the other 3 humans. The one with the eye tattoo actually goes for a kind of midsection blow and gets caught right in the side of the head by one of the other's knees that have been swung around. He takes a large crack and stumbles into a nearby table, crashes into it, and actually breaks the table. The legs come clean off. He shakes his head and yells, and the rest of them begin to sort of dogpile on her as she begins to throw wild haymakers.
Personally, I was hoping to see Volo because it's such an iconic figure. I was not. As I was saying, he's so high profile. I was actually just curious as why he chose.
I bet 5
Lots
silver.
of-
I bet the guy next to me 5 silver on that orc.
You're on.
All right.
Okay.
It's not often you get contacted like that. Yeah. I was curious. I'm not expecting much. I'll be pretty surprised if he actually shows.
Sid just casual ducks under an incoming fist or free flying limb or ah! No problem. No problem.
So, you see, Raven, that this half-orc woman has already disabled 2 of them. I mean, you heard the sounds of limbs cracking. You see 2 of them are sprawled across the floor, nursing a limb or an arm or a leg, howling in pain, and she is handily taking the other 3 as they are circling her. Now, what was your perception check,
15.
Rhys? With a 15, you can hear above the din of all this as you are scanning the room. Sounds like a bell. Ding. Ding. Kind of insistent. Ding.
Can't tell where it's coming from.
It's difficult to tell where it's coming from.
I'll get up and start moving and see if I can figure out from where it's originating.
Okay, you begin drifting through the tavern, trying to locate the sound, where it's coming from. Raven, you see that again. This half-orc has basically taken another one of these humans, bent him over her knee, and just. He's not dead, but you can see that he goes kind of rigid and then just slumps off of her knee, and then she takes the remaining 2 figures, bashes their heads together, and they go spiraling and spinning. There's a yell and a howl, and you can see that the 5 of them are now rapidly backing up as a group and making their way towards the double doors of the yawning portal.
So I win 5 silver.
The guy next to you sort of tosses you the coins. He's like, "I was lucky."
I come back to the table. I love this place.
There's a lot of excited chatter as people are jazzed about the tavern brawl and the dipping and everything like that. And you, as you're making your way through the crowd, Rhys, are hearing that bell louder now and more insistent. Ding, ding, ding. And you know, as you're making your way through, that it's coming from your right, from the yawning portal. Ding, 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 ding. Now it's insistent. Now it's rapid.
Is Durnan still at the winch, or where is he?
No, Durnan has returned to the bar.
Okay, so I'll go up to him and say, "Does the bell mean anything?"
Good God! And he runs over to the winch and begins. And suddenly, all eyes are on the yawning portal as the winch system is beginning to retract and the rope's beginning to come back up. The ringing is still happening, even louder now. And now everyone's beginning to quiet down. And this bell is piercing the noise. Ding, 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 ding. Louder, faster, more desperate. About 2 minutes go by. And then the bell just suddenly stops. Durnan himself pauses for a half a second. And then continues. The rope continues to feed up. And slowly you can see, even from where you are and from your table, the rope has gone from a kind of a tawny color, and now it is something deeper. There's a darker shade. And then, as it continues to climb up, you can see that the rope is now slicked with blood. It continues to come up until you see that stirrup completely empty.
Yeah.
The rest of the bar kind of sits there in a sort of resigned silence.
Poor bastard.
Suddenly, you see this giant, green-skinned, pustule-covered arm. Claws the size of massive daggers. Nails the size of massive daggers. Huge claws. Boom! Over the side of the yawning portal. And then another. Boom! You see Durnan release the winch back up and shout, "Troll!" And you see, sure enough, this giant troll make its way over the edge of the yawning portal, climbs its way into the tavern room proper, and begins batting away tables as people scream and begin to back away into safety. You see Bonnie from the side. She runs behind the bar, picks up what looks like a sword that has been sheathed, tosses it to Durnan. He grabs it, unsheathes it, and points it at the troll, ready to go. Now, is this something that you're going to deal with? Or?
I'm definitely going to deal with it.
Okay, well then I think we should all roll initiative, shall we?
Jesus.
It's a good day.
Yeah.
So it's a good day to die.
18.
18, you said?
Mm-hmm.
18 for
Nora.
Nora. 18 for Nora. What about Rhys?
7.
7, which is 11 less than Nora.
It's a full 11 less.
Okay, what about Raven?
I rolled poorly, so it's a 6.
6 for Raven. Got it. And what about Al-Cid?
18.
Also 18. Very good.
I have no dex mods, so...
Not bad.
Wait, what?
No, your roll's not bad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No dex mod. Great.
Nice. Playing 5th edition, right?
I feel so naked.
Okay.
Did anybody wear armor in this place?
That's a good
No.
question. That is an
Always.
excellent question.
Just slows you down, man.
Okay, so Nora and Al-Cid, which of you have the better dexterity mod?
+2.
What's Dex?
Oh, you're not familiar with the concept?
No.
Okay, that's fair.
At least not this time.
Then, Nora, you get to go first.
Okay,
So-
so where are we?
I will tell you. So
And where's
you
Mr.
are. See, I told you that I would regret putting the map all the way over there.
Yep.
So you guys are right here, with the exception of Rhys, who has moved around to here.
Oops.
So you see this. Does anyone have a troll mini? That'd be easier for me to use than.
I don't think I do.
If they don't, that's fine.
Well, I might have one in my trunk, but I don't know. Here.
We've got our giant figure who.
If you need large, I might have a large, but I don't think I've got.
If you will place the troll here, right between those two tables, right there, which have recently been knocked aside, their chairs gone spinning, splintering wood. We have our friend here, Durnan, who is over there at the edge of the bar, just at the corner there. There, good, thank you. And then the rest of you who are seated at that table or making your way around the table.
This must be that jizz music I've heard of.
It is. So,
I thought there was only one song. Okay, so we'll do a quick wander over.
as he sees the lot of you approaching and drawing weapons, Durnan, with his sword out, taking a couple of sort of research swings, if you will, leans over and he says, "I'll focus on the troll. You need to take care of these sturges." And you suddenly notice that some of those pustules on the troll have actually left the troll's body and have begun to flap these massive wings and begin to fly around the troll itself. 3 of them specifically.
Sturges are great if you can kill them quickly. If you don't, they're motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm.
So we have our
1, 2, and 3.
let's see, 1, 2, and 3.
We've got to get one of those little like
Thank you.
war games.
What are the little
Yeah,
yes,
that's like-
like a shuffleboard
Yeah,
thing?
Yeah,
the
little pushing
general-
sticks.
Thank you.
This is the war room.
There's no fighting
fighting
in the
in
war
the
room.
war room.
No fighting in the war room.
So Nora approaches, kind of quickly, and then slows and assumes a defensive position. The dodge action.
Okay, sounds good. Then Al-Cid, you're up.
So those D6 are the Sturges.
With the exception of that pink one, which is actually, will you hand me that, Robert? And I will put a different. Here's a D8. That's our Durnan there.
Durnan green.
He's moved in slightly, by the way, about 5 feet.
And what's the D12?
That's the troll, which is a large creature.
Oh, I see. Okay, cool. So
So he's taking up that 2x2 square.
all right. So why not? All right, cool, sweet. So like seeing this all like transpired, like about like his spectacles is this now the situation has just gone tits up, and like just like puts down the books and everything, just like rolls up his sleeves even more, stands up, and like as he's standing up, like does a few like just finger movements as like purple blackened, some type of force comes from it, and gestures his hand towards one of the closest Sturge. And
Okay, number 3 there.
Yeah, and a quick cackle of blackened electricity just bolts out.
Oh, wait, crackle.
Yeah.
All right.
I was going to say Dyson cackle.
You did say cackle,
Damn it.
which I think is a cooler attack.
Yeah. Get your He-Man up.
Throwing Skeletor laughs at this guy. Okay, so roll. That sounds like an Eldritch Blast.
Yes. A 16.
16 hits.
Excellent.
Yeah, you tag that Sturge.
10.
10 damage to our Sturge friend. All right. So, this crackling bolt of black-purple energy shoots out across the tavern, and you see that it nails the Sturge directly center mass, and this thing explodes in this sort of disgusting display of flesh and blood.
Which
So,
one was it?
Number 3. Number 3 is basically evaporated. So, now we have... we've got our troll friend.
Troll. In the dungeon.
So the troll
I thought you ought to know.
moves forward. We'll move him diagonally one space. So he, because those Sturges are tiny, by the way, if you're not familiar. So the Sturge actually begins to square up Durnan, who's beginning to, again, do more defensive strikes than anything. And you see that the troll takes this big hand and sort of swings at this large sort of swiping haymaker at Durnan. He is able to sort of slide under the blow with his sword out and traces a long scar across the troll's forearm. And you can hear it with its deep sort of piercing roar as it takes the blow. Now we have, let's see, so Sturge number 1 there flies over to who is that there by that's Rhys, isn't it?
That's Rhys, that's Nora.
Okay, flies over to Nora, and you see this thing as it is taking advantage of the chaos, swoops down and tries to drain your blood, Nora.
It will do so with disadvantage,
Oh,
as I have dodged last action.
that's right. You took a defensive stance.
Get out of here, bird.
So will a 9 hit you?
No, it will not.
Fantastic. So this Sturge is flapping and swooping in and trying to get your blood, but is not able to make the purchase, as you are very rapidly dodging and bobbing and weaving.
Ninja moves.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 there, you can see the second Sturge still hovering around the troll, sort of swoops down and actually gets a lucky bite off on Durnan before he's able to catch it with his pommel and smack it off of his shoulder. You can see a little bit of drawn blood there, but Durnan does not even flinch. He is still facing this troll one-on-one, doesn't even really look at the Sturge. He's continuing to bat it off. Then we have Rhys.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take a shot at the Sturge number 1.
With your crossbow or bow? Or?
Hand crossbow.
Hand crossbow.
And with advantage, since Nora's
Mm-hmm.
adjacent there.
Sounds good.
So that is a 22.
Does not hit. This Sturge has got plate mail and mage armor on its stacks. No, it does hit.
So with sneak attack, that is 12.
12 damage.
12
Okay.
piercing.
So that was for number 1,
Yes.
right?
It's a super
Okay.
Sturge.
Robert,
It also does that.
So this thing, so you lean over Nora's shoulders, and this bolt goes straight through the Sturge's neck. You can see it begin to, as it's sort of flapping, trying to keep itself alight, both because of the damage and also because of the extra weight of the bolt through its neck. You see it sort of begin to sail off to the side in a kind of a drunken spiral, and it falls into the yawning portal, and you never see it again.
That's one less bolt.
Okay, Raven, you're up next.
Okay, she's gonna take a shot at Sturge number 2.
Go long.
Oh, she misses horribly.
Okay.
I rolled a 2 on the dice.
So is that a longbow or a crossbow? Or?
It's a longbow.
So a longbow, the arrow goes wide and actually sticks itself into the side of the bar.
Oh, fuck, I did
That was a good sound effect.
Durnan actually, as he's fighting, he sees the arrow come through pretty close to his form, and he sees the. He takes a moment to look out through, like, where the hell did that come from, and then continues fighting the troll.
Someone's paying for that.
He gets 2 good swings on the troll towards the sort of the inner thigh sections of the troll, and you can see that his leg support is beginning to weaken. Okay, now we're back up to the top. Nora, you're back up.
Okay. Ducking under that sturge that's drifting towards the center, going to make her way over towards number 2. Along the way, you're watching a bit of a hand motion that then kind of brushes across her face, and you see huge, like, saber-toothed tiger-esque fangs suddenly there, and she's going to try to take a bite out of this guy.
Taking a bite out of crime. Nice.
It's a maybe.
So that was a sturge, right?
Yep.
Cool. What was your attack?
Nice. 14 to hit.
14 hits.
All right. For 9 acid damage.
9 acid damage. Okay. So you reach out, chomp this thing. You're able to take the whole of its body, it's a tiny creature, inside your mouth. You hear the disgusting crunching noises and this squirt of material, and you realize, yep, that is a dead sturge in your mouth right now.
The squirt of material made me a little uncomfortable.
Spits it. What's with juice?
Yeah.
So spits that out, and it smacks a wet smack against the floor of the tavern. And now you realize that all that's left is our troll.
Teeth have then returned to normal as the magic fades.
Al-Cid.
So now we all take bets on whether Nora spits or swallows, right?
Spit? You just saw it. It's hard X.
Yeah, bar bets, come on.
So, surveying the area quickly to see that there's no other flying creatures and there's this one giant assailant left, will prep another bolt and send it flying towards the giant creature.
Okay, towards the giant. Very good. The troll, I should say.
Troll. Yeah.
Okay.
All the same, am I right?
Excuse me?
I'm just saying.
Fantasy racism is not okay.
See racism. That's a good thing Daniel isn't playing.
Yeah, no shit.
Every character's a racist.
I miss him.
15.
15 does hit.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Oh, cool.
Wow.
Owen Wilson would be proud.
3 damage. It does look like that. As you so you peg this troll in the back of the head with this crackle of black purple energy, and you hear him go "Arr!" and sort of swing at the back of his head, but without looking away from Durnan. Now we have it's the troll's turn. The troll at that, it takes the troll a moment to sort of feel the burn, if you will, and he actually turns around and sees the general direction that bolt came from. He actually picks up the remains of a nearby table and hurls it towards you. So
He looks at me on the side.
so that's Al-Cid and who else?
Like hand on hip, like
I am.
still like the hand like towards the bolt. And it's like,
So Al-Cid and Raven, you guys need to make dexterity saves for me, please.
Let's see if I can.
Dex saves.
Oh
no.
God damn it!
That sounds like a no.
Well, we
Maybe
have
a no.
one good one.
You want to get in there before the warlock gets creamed.
Oh no!
I rolled a natural one, so I'm going to use the gun and get one.
Okay.
Nice.
Oh no! What?
So we're all ready.
Robert, you duped me.
Oh God damn it!
It's not even worth it.
Destiny.
Okay. All right.
Robert and I just fighting for the last.
It's that grab of the edge, like I'm going to live, and then it crumbles away.
So this sizable table. I mean, the size of talking about like a proper bar table, not one of the rounded ones, but one of the squarish ones.
Mm-hmm.
Is chucked towards you. You find that you're not able to get out of the way quickly enough, particularly because not only is it sudden, but also that there are other patrons kind of weaving through and like trying to get out of the way and everything. You are smacked directly with this wooden table. You both take 7 points of bludgeoning damage.
You still up, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
There's a scream as some of the other patrons are able just barely to dive out of the way.
Imagine me taken out by a table.
There are worse ways to die.
If
but
somebody would
no,
have
it's
played
not
that
good.
wizard.
but not many. There's not many worse.
Rhys, it's your turn.
Oh,
It's definitely
Well.
cool though.
I have a feeling I'm not going to do anything to it, but I'll shoot at the troll.
Okay.
Would Durnan count as an ally?
Yes, in this case, yeah.
So that is 13.
13 is a miss. Bolt goes wide.
Okay.
Luckily manages to sail over the bar and smash one of the...
Not the brandy!
smash one of the liquor bottles. Durnan doesn't take a second look at that. Apparently that's replaceable, but the bar is not.
Must not have been the good stuff.
Raven, you're back up.
Well, let's take a shot at the troll and see if these dice really do hate me. Yeah, they really do hate me.
Time for dice jail.
So I imagine that was a low number?
It was 12.
12 misses, yes. So another arrow goes wide. This time it fixes itself in one of the hanging lanterns in the yawning portal. There's a brief crack of glass, and you can see the thing begin to sort of swing wildly.
So much property damage.
Durnan continues his work, carving away at this troll, getting some really precise strikes here. You actually see him cleave clean off the troll's right kneecap. The skin just over there. And you can see this wet smack as this and he yells and this thing smacks against the floor. Nora, you're back up.
Well, takes a quick moment to be like, am I doing this? Yeah, I guess I'm doing this. And slowly steps within range. Left hands, by performing a little incantation and then kind of like pulling it over like a glove for right. And large claws appear. She's going to take a swing with those. Oh,
17.
Probably good. Yeah, that's 22.
22 hits, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
8 acid damage. My dice are on fire.
Acid damage. So you were swiping at this thing with your claws? Because there's a scraping and a hissing as you dig into the troll's back. You can see a sizzling and a scarring as it continues to writhe in pain and thrash about. Al-Cid, you're back up, or rather, you've been just hit by a table. Table.
Like yeah, the table, like the camera pans, but the table's in front of the camera, and like as he just like the hands go
Over the table, yes.
like looking just very angrily at the at
Our
the
troll
assailant.
friend.
So I think we're gonna do something cool. Okay, so I need to 1, 2, 3. Can I get within 15 feet of that?
With a hustle, I think so.
Within just a normal move?
So you're the D4, yeah?
Uh-huh.
So if you're here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you'd be in range.
Yeah,
good?
Because it's 2 by 2.
Can I get some
On a table?
non-cone range?
No, not really.
Where anybody else gets, no one else gets toasted?
So from there, 1, 2, 3, 4,
I only need
5,
15 feet.
6.
Okay, well this is
You'd be
dual
right there.
fates. I can't have that.
Yeah. That should work-ish with 15 feet. You're probably going to light the bar on fire, though. Fair warning.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Burning does catch things on fire.
Mm-hmm.
It is fire,
There's
technically.
a broken liquor bottle. On the bar.
Well, that was in the back, like not on the bar itself, but on the racks of alcohol that are behind the
And
bar.
actually, those don't tend to light. It takes other fires to get those to light. But magical fire, who knows? Maybe it is hot enough.
Hey, it's magical fire.
I
Man.
know. It's
This is water deep. This is water deep.
I don't want to light the bar on fire. I'm just gonna Eldritch Blast it again.
Okay, sounds good.
reset.
Reset. I forgot that. Yeah, it's
Continuing to pew pew.
It's a fire.
Yeah. Cool. So continue to pew pew very angrily as now I've taken out my implement. It doesn't use get nudges.
Call this
I didn't say. Okay, no. It's like a wand appears from like some pocket somewhere, and a blast with more emphasis is placed, but may not actually hit the mark. A 12.
Nope.
12 misses. Another crackling bolt of energy. Pew,
As
goes
I
wide.
bring down my arm and
Cradle your ribs.
recoil from my most recent wound.
You see a patron actually, oh! And dive out of the way, trying not to get hit by this blast.
Feel sorry for the guy who dives into the yawning portal, not to get struck.
And
by
then
another
Wilhelm
blast.
screams into.
The troll quickly turns and tries to do a sort of a backhand swipe at Nora, but ends up connecting with that same half-orc from earlier who is charged in and is trying to basically... You're not certain, Nora, if the half-orc was trying to tackle the troll or just, get on it? Maybe ride the troll? Who knows? There was intent there, but now the half-orc is sailing over and has collapsed into a table. Next we have Rhys.
Try again without destroying any more alcohol.
Fingers crossed.
We'll see.
No, I destroyed something else.
1 and a 2.
1 and a 2. All right. Well, that was advantage, so you got a 2.
Yeah.
2 plus whatever. Okay, so another bolt goes wide. It actually manages to strike that same hanging lantern that Raven managed to peg earlier. You see the glass crack entirely, and now there's a little bit of burning candle fluid that is
Cool.
dripping
We're
out
destroying a
onto
landmark.
onto the tavern floor. Raven, you're up.
Alright, let's see with new dice. Yes, that's much better, so that's a 24.
That definitely hits.
So that is 6 damage.
6 damage to our friend the troll. Okay, pretty good shot. You fire your arrow and it sticks in between the troll's massive shoulder blades. You see it sort of weakly try to swat at this tiny arrow in its back and is unable to make purchase because it just simply can't reach that far back.
Feels bad, man.
Let's see. So, our friend Durnan's back. So Durnan continues making these strategic cuts. He actually manages to take his sword, sort of flips it around so it's on the sort of the stabbing edge, and drives it up into one of the troll's armpits. And you see that it suddenly is sort of it retracts its arm, and you can see that the arm is now sort of slightly limp, as the troll is managing to thrash around and try to keep now Durnan at bay in a clearly defensive gesture. It's clear that the troll is kind of on its last legs here. Okay, so Nora, you're back up.
Round 2 of the claw. Another quick gesture.
Claw.
and-
Claw.
About 19 to hit.
That does hit.
The dice gods have been kind.
Looks like 9.
Yeah, 9 points of acid damage.
9 points.
Do like a roll.
Okay, so Nora, how do you kill this troll?
Nice.
Claw, since it's been trying to move away from Durnan, I've got a bit of a side view, so it's pretty much just going to be straight in for the stomach.
Sure, yeah. So you reach in with your claw and you get sort of the right-hand side area about where the stomach and kidney kind of reside. and you hear the troll, and you see this thing stagger backwards, and then all 9 feet of this troll
Falls on
falls parallel to the bar back towards the double door area. So it is now laying out flat that way with its head pointing towards the front entrance. You see Durnan is kind of covered in like the troll viscera. Sort of takes his sword and tosses it over at the bar where Bonnie has just gotten up and is beginning to resheath it.
Cool.
And you see him.
Is it dead?
Not yet. Okay. Grab all the lamp oil you can, pour it on him. We're gonna set him alight.
Gonna go grab some lamps?
So he and some of the other staff are beginning to take off some of the lanterns and some of the gas lanterns, the oil lanterns, I should say.
Like as they're collecting, I go up to Durnan and the troll and be like, "No, this one's on me."
Still a bit of
And-
like table on your shoulder.
Steady, boys.
And I just like burning hands towards the portal so that way nothing else catches fire. The corpse.
Sounds good. So you take a round. You're kind of a backs at the bar, and you see this
You
body
can
of
use-
the troll.
You can use the brandy from that bottle that the troll broke.
That
Right,
Now,
guys?
that's thinking with gas. So you roast this troll corpse, and you see it sizzling and burning, and soon enough it is a rather large pile of ash.
Is it really dead?
It's absolutely dead.
I get 4 temp HP.
So you see this giant pile of ash where a troll used to stand, and Durnan sort of slicks back his hair with his hand and takes a deep breath. Well, that saves us some lamp oil.
Guess I'll put this back up.
He sees the lot of you sort of now kind of spotting you through the crowd, some of you close, some of you clearly with their weapons drawn, and he gives you a kind of a sort of a brief salute. The yawning portal thanks you. Drinks are on me.
Sounds good.
Excellent.
And you hear behind you, Al-Cid, a small voice saying, "Wow, that was a bit of a dust-up, wasn't it?" And you can see, standing just behind you, just come into the front door, is a figure with a prodigious mustache, a floppy hat, and a scarf.
Gandalf.
"You fools!" he shouts.
Oh shit!
Fly! I'm going to fuck you up. Prepare yourself. Surprise! I'm Magneto. No. So,
Metal objects.
so this figure you can see is carrying a book or two in with a leather strap around it. He approaches you and sort of extends his hand.
Hi. How's it going?
Hello, I take it you are Al-Cid Primanti?
Indeed I am.
You see him doff his hat at you. Volotham Gedam, chronicler, wizard, and celebrity at your service.
Celebrity.
Oh.
Man knows what he is.
Influencer.
That was indeed impressive work, taking care of the troll with our friend Durnan here. And you see Durnan sort of acknowledge Volo with a kind of a, yeah.
Yeah. These
Calm down, Volo.
compatriots of mine did a pretty banged up job. Mr. Fuller, please have a seat.
Oh, after you. I wouldn't
I'm
suggest.
as I'm like,
I wouldn't suggest this table. This one's been rather taken apart. Eh? Okay. Now, these are your associates, I take it. The fellows here and here. Yes.
Wander over.
Gentlemen, ladies, if you would please, if you'll gather here at this table, please, I'll make sure that fresh rounds are about. We have business to discuss. On second thought, and he stops for a moment, kind of surveys the room and spies an area just to the sort of the north end of the tavern that has a kind of an open doorway, bar without a door. And it looks like there's kind of like a meeting room in there. There's a rug down and a long table with several chairs. Let's move in here, shall we, for some privacy concerns, eh? And so he leads the four of you into that room there with a long table, you can see.
Nice.
And
Much appreciated.
he allows you all, he gestures for all of you to sit down, and then takes his seat at the at the head of the table, closest to the roaring fireplace. He puts his hat down on the table, the books, and then begins to adjust his mustache, twirls it just a little bit, and he says, well, that was rather exciting, Not the usual fare at the Yawning Portal, but, well, when you build a tavern on top of the hole to the Undermountain, what do you expect?
You really don't get it very much, do you?
I'm sorry?
You don't frequent this place much, do you?
I try not to. Not because I am not fond of the place. It's a wonderful place. And Durland is a wonderful man, and it is his fiancée Bonnie, and all of the like. But, well, if you've... I assume you are at least partially familiar with my tomes that I've written?
Yeah, I've read them.
They have been quite belaboring in the research and writing of, and so I find myself not able to frequent as many taverns as I would like. Now then, the lot of you, as I understand, you are all born and or raised in Waterdeep. Is that correct?
I personally am.
Excellent. So you are already familiar with the city?
I've been away for a while, but
Well, you will not know, good sir, but your Rhys, was it? Is that right?
Correct.
Yes, very good. Well, I trust you have not seen, but the rest of you perhaps have noticed, the threat of violence in our fair city these past 10 days. I haven't seen so much blood since my last visit to Baldur's Gate. People out in the streets trying to tear each other's throats out. Gangs, mind you, factions and whatnot, not the average person on the street. But nonetheless, it is rather troubling. And in this malaise of violence, I find that a good friend of mine has disappeared, and I would greatly like to know his whereabouts and his health. You see, my friend's name is Floon Blagmar. Floon is he's a lovely fellow, but he's got more beauty than brains, you understand. And I worry that perhaps he, as he was wandering home one day, took a bad way. It was a couple of nights ago, and well, he might have been kidnapped, or worse. Now, since I am busy currently writing Volo's Guides to Spirit Inspectors, and my adventuring days are very well behind me, I'm more of an explorer now and a travelogue writer, I need someone to check up on my friend Floon. And I think that based on our reputation alone, that you four are quite capable of the job.
Yeah.
Now, if you agree to track my friend Floon down in due haste, I promise that I will offer you 10 dragons apiece right now, and 10 times that when you find Floon. And of course, bring him back here to the Yawning Portal where I will wait.
So where was he last seen?
Now, the last I remember, he said something about going to the Skewered Dragon. That was 2 nights ago. Oh no, I recall. Yes, that's right. I actually met him for a few drinks there. It's a rather well, it's not on the same level as the Yawning Portal, but it's a decent enough tavern. I was beset by writer's block. I needed the writer's friend, the lubricant of the mind, if you will. And so he and I partook of a few drinks. We drank and gambled for a few hours, and then I left, leaving him there, and that was the last I saw of him.
Sounds like a good place to start.
Yeah.
And you suspect that your friend is under any duress or any reason for checking it?
I'm not certain. Frankly, because of my reputation, there may be such individuals that have targeted my friend Floon specifically in order to extort from me or to ruin my work or what have you. I frankly don't have any answers. I only have questions at the moment. And I am a bit embarrassed to admit that maybe it might have been my fault. Sheerly on who I am alone. The name Volothamp Gedorm does travel and does encourage people to take certain risks and so on. I am dreadfully nervous about Floon, and I would like my nervousness to be dispelled by the fine work of your adventurers.
How are we going to know him when we see him?
Well, that's actually a rather simple point. He's a rather handsome-looking man, early 30s, I would say, wavy red-blonde hair, with a sharp goatee of the same colour, dressed in a princely garb, as he is wont to do. He is very interested in fashion, you understand. And he, as I said before, the last I saw him was in the Skewered Dragon, and his apparel would have been unlike their usual clientele. So if you do spot him, he should be able to stand out like a sore thumb, as they say.
Fairly straightforward.
I think. Anything else we need?
I don't think so, at least not at the moment. Is there any way that we can contact you once we found him?
Unfortunately, beyond returning to the Yawning Portal with Floon in tow, I don't suspect there is. I don't have any, what do you call the stones of sending or what have you on me. So I'm afraid I will have to simply wait here and expect your return.
Very well.
In the meantime, hopefully, I can have a few drinks, and perhaps the muse will visit me again, and I can continue my work on Spirits and Spectres.
Let's head out.
Excellent, so I can rely on you all.
Yes.
Fantastic. So he retrieves a drawstring purse, opens it up, and divvies out 10 dragons to each of you.
Whoa. It's each.
It really is each.
10 dragons apiece, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So that's 10 GP for lack of a better word.
Courtney would be so happy.
She would be.
Money.
Each?
You'll have to tell her it actually worked.
He cinches up the drawstring purse and returns it to his person, and he says, and remember, I will pay 10 times that if you bring back Floon here in due haste. Now, please, do hurry. I grow even more concerned about Floon's health and safety the longer this goes without answering. As I said before, the last I saw him was in the Skewered Dragon. That is a tavern that you can find in the Dock Ward. Some of you are already familiar with it. I would be a little bit careful about treading the ground there. Rumor has it, and in my line of work, rumor is almost the same as truth, that particular tavern is owned by the Zentarim.
Fun. Well, my two friends here had an unfortunate encounter with a table. If you could arrange for their healing, we could head there directly.
I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. A table?
The troll threw it at them.
Oh, I see, yes. I am sorry to hear that.
Or no, these two.
Yeah, that's no problem. And I'll pop healing word off probably twice.
Healing
If I can
word?
Get both of you up to full.
What's the word?
The word is good.
Excelsior!
Ah!
In that case, you die. Too soon?
Start with you, Nick. You get nice full 7.
I think that's what you took, right?
Yep. Come on, don't fail me now, dice. And Robert, 5.
Not bad.
Almost.
Not bad.
On a D4, I'll take it.
Both fighter and healer. Good to see in a party of adventurers, huh?
It pays to be prepared.
Indeed it does. And that gives me quite a bit of relief to know that we have professionals that I'm working with. Excellent.
Absolutely. Oh man, I feel much better now. Thank you. All right. Well, we'll be sure to go and grab your friend and bring him back and make sure that he is safe and sound.
Many thanks.
Not to be outdone, I cast dancing lights.
That's very nice.
Doesn't heal.
A little bit of ambiance in here. That's really quite lovely.
Shrug.
Not to be outdone, burning hand. No.
As Volo's incinerated.
Oh no, we killed an important character. We can't do the quest. We can't progress the story.
Well, that's the end of the campaign.
Oh no.
Well, if the two of you feel up to it, let's hit the streets.
Absolutely.
Hopefully I've done enough to help.
I have a contact I'd like to check with.
Of course. Is it on the way?
Probably.
That's a good point. That's a good time to bring this sucker out.
Take me to the
Oh, nice.
Here is the map of Waterdeep.
Oh, it's a sick map.
Came with the book.
Dang,
Is
boy.
Is one of them the player side and the other the DM side?
Yes, because the side that I'm showing you is the DM side. But here is... not that the DM side, from what I could tell, has anything like
Very
secret
cool.
on it, but anyway. So here is our map of Waterdeep here. And you can see that you folks are currently in the... let's see. No, I'm trying to remember where the Yawning Portal is.
Is it also Doppel?
It's in the Castle Ward, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yawning Portal there. You know what? Let me just flip over to
There
the
you
DM side here.
The one location
Easy
on it.
enough.
The yawning portal.
That. So here you are, right there. You're in the Castle Ward, adjacent to the Dock Ward and the Trades Ward and the Southern Ward. Ow. So where is your contact there, Robert?
Alright, my background feature, Gear to the Ground, says I have a criminal contact, a criminal underworld contact in every city that can tell me about people and places in the city.
Okay.
I think I have that same thing.
It's always good to have. That's, I think,
I
one of
mean,
the more
if
useful.
we've all got that criminal background.
Yeah, that is the criminal background.
Yeah.
Right?
I think they stole a lot of stuff from criminal background for Urban Bounty.
Yeah, I have a reliable and trustworthy.
Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably a modified version of it, yeah.
So your contact, who is he or she to you?
She's a mutually beneficial acquaintance
Mm-hmm.
named Quintessa. She's an elf. And she
It's word for word.
has some unsavory business things, but proves useful in my line of work because she knows things. And we kind of help each other out.
So an informant?
How's it D&D Beyond? Did you see all the books are on sale now?
Yeah, it's tempting.
$20 each.
So where is Contessa?
Uh,
You guys are in the Castle Ward, the southern end of the Castle Ward. You can see right there that black dot.
she's probably in the dock ward.
In the Dock Ward? Okay, sounds good. So you are going to meet with Contessa, the elven contact. Jot that down for my reference. This elven contact. Okay. So, since you guys are in the Castle Ward and Contessa's in the Dock Ward, that's within walking distance. Yeah,
Convenient.
absolutely.
I'd like to roll a knowledge or like check to know a little bit about this place.
About what? Which place?
Where we're heading.
The Dock Ward?
The skewered rat?
The Skewered Dragon?
Or the skewered dragon.
Yes, absolutely. You can roll a... I would consider that a
Whatever.
history check.
Sure. 16.
60. Okay, you know the Skewered Dragon. It faces an alley that runs between Net Street and Fillet Lane in the Dockward. It's a the most notable part about it is that there's a ship's anchor lodged in the roof. It's kind of a set piece, which is good because the remainder of the tavern is it looks like a ruin. Like the front-facing windows are smashed. There's a lot of haggard patrons usually inside, drinking dredges out of huge tankards. It's a dubious-looking place.
Yeah.
You know, it's a place that dock workers and sort of the industrial folk like to hang out and drink after work, and it is also accordingly a place that some unsavory types also like to congregate.
All right, sure, sweet. All right, cool. Pocket that bit of knowledge. As walking down, I will basically share this knowledge. Yeah, it seems like the place we are going, and Volo has described. It doesn't. It seems, if those of you have been there before, doesn't surprise me that he's maybe be a little, how to put it, apprehensive of his friend, mainly because it's a seedy place.
Yes, one wonders what he would be doing there.
Not the place for a dandy.
No, not the place for someone really like Volo to begin with. So, be careful, mind yourself. We'll hopefully walk out of there unscathed. Don't look anybody in the eye for too long.
Sounds good.
Excellent.
Raven, I assume we'll meet you there, as
That would make sense.
I'm sure your friend doesn't want this much company.
No, probably not.
Okay, so the lot of you are heading into the dock ward, is that right? Raven to meet your contact, Contessa, and the rest of you heading towards the Skewered Dragon place, right? Okay. So, Raven, you make your way into the dock ward and find yourself on the steps of a familiar building, a thin, cramped abode on the bottom floor of a sort of a tall building sandwiched in between other buildings. You rap on the door 3 times in quick succession. You hear some stirring inside, and then you see very slowly the door opens, and out of that you can see a sure enough an elven woman with an angular face peeking out. Yes?
Contessa.
Oh, it's you! She opens the door wide. Come in.
Closes it.
Come in. She gestures you in and sits you down in a cramped sort of living area with a table and some barely upholstered chairs. She sits down and offers you the other seat.
Sit down.
What can I do for you?
Well, got a missing person that somebody once found.
I see.
Man by the name of Flume. And I gave him a general description to give her the general description of him.
Flume. Name doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, probably.
Not immediately.
Probably doesn't normally travel in your circle.
You mean here in the dock ward? No, absolutely not. We don't get that kind of... You said he was dressed in finery? Yeah? No, absolutely not.
Last seen at that shithole, the Skewered Dragon.
Well, that I can understand. I have seen the occasional well-to-do fellow at the Skewered Dragon, either out of, what do you call it, macabre curiosity, or simply because the drinks are dirt cheap.
Yeah, you know how it is. Went there, tried to find a little adventure, and got himself disappeared.
I see, so an active disappearance case. Not merely misplaced, I see. Let me see what I can do. I will talk to my people. I'm afraid I don't have any information on this. Flume, you said? Flume? At the moment, but I may be able to pick up some words on the street.
Of course. Always happy to have your help. And you know when you need me, I'm there for you.
I do appreciate that, Raven. I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Alright.
Gestures for you.
So I leave and head to the school of dragon.
At the same time, the three of you are making your way through the edge of the castle ward into the dock ward.
Anyway, yeah, the drink. Anyway, from what I heard, from what I heard, who didn't I? The drinks are cheap. That's my idea. So.
As you cross into the dock ward and turn a corner, you find yourselves on a street that looks like it's been cordoned off, probably by the city watch. In fact, you can see lying on the cobblestones just in the distance are a half-dozen corpses, seemingly the victims of some kind of skirmish. You see some watch officers have disarmed and arrested 3 blood-drenched humans and are in the midst of questioning some witnesses.
How close can we get?
You can, within about 15 feet of the crime
So
scene.
kind of quickly scan the bodies and the people they have to look for the description we were given of Floon.
Okay, you don't see Floon anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, you see lots of sort of John Doe or Jane Doe types that have been killed, and these 3 figures that are, they're dressed in sort of black, sort of light outfits. Each of them looking sort of with rough teeth and scars and matted hair and so on. It looks, they're certainly not nobility. That's for sure. You see what looks like a taller man with a sort of a grayish ponytail cinched in the back, a thick goatee, dressed in the uniform of dressed in the uniform of what looks like a captain, perhaps. You also see there are 2 figures that are very different from the remaining, what look like about a dozen guards that are sort of standing about. They're either attending to the crime scene or they're making sure that nobody is breaching the cordon. You see that there are 2 other figures that stand out. There's one man, sort of a tall, blonde fellow with a kind of a slight lean to him, as if he's always looming over you. And then there is a shorter, older man, both of them human. This gentleman has a sort of a wizard's robe on and is carrying a large staff, and he is sort of picking at the crime scene and these suspects with his eyes, like almost dismantling them with his eyes. So you get a good look and you see, no, Floon's not neither the victims nor the perpetrators.
But it doesn't look like we can go any further towards the place.
It looks like you'll have to take. You can't take this street. You'll have to go around. Go around the block and then head out.
Annoying. More violence. Fine.
Long way around then.
Looks like it.
So you turn to leave the street and go around the block to circumvent this cordoned-off crime scene, and suddenly you hear "Get him!" And suddenly you see, as you turn back, 3 of the city guards are frantically scrambling to catch one of those blood-soaked figures in black, who sprung to his feet and is swiftly making his way out of beyond the cordon and down the street towards you. He is full sprinting, trying to get through. Now, you have just a moment to try to intercept him if you wish.
Try to trip him?
Yeah, absolutely. Give me a... Let's see.
Yeah.
That would be athletics, wouldn't it?
I would say,
Grapple, yeah.
athletics seems like a good idea. Yeah. And our friend is going to try to make an acrobatics check as he sees you begin to move, and he sees now suddenly the 3 of you are coming into view, and he realizes, I need to juke these people. Okay.
He's got a good chance of beating me. Yep. 5.
Ooh.
Okay. So you jut your foot out, and luckily enough, or rather unluckily enough, I should say, the blood-soaked guy sees that foot, leaps over it, pushing you and Rhys and Al-Cid to the side, and leaps over and continues to rush down the street until you see this streak of energy sail through the street, plant itself in this bandit's back with a sizzling burn, and he falls directly to the cobblestones, dead. You look back to the cordoned off area, and you can see that same man in mage clothes with a staff retracting his staff back to a sort of a relaxed position, the tip of it still glowing with a kind of an arcane energy.
Cinch up the cloak a little bit. All right, let's go.
You see that captain fellow with the long ponytail and the thick goatee. He's moving the cordon out of the way and beginning to approach the three of you. Hold on now.
Damn it.
You're throwing out the police interacting type, am I taking? I'll see if I can take care of this.
Please do.
Officer!
So,
Excellent job.
he approaches you, Al-Cid.
I like, well, in a very disarmed motion, like, take a few steps, like, kind of towards him, like, walk, like
They
talking.
try to meet him. And,
Yeah, to meet him, to, like, so he doesn't have to get any closer to the rest of my compatriots than he has to, so.
Okay. So he meets you, but is still keeping an eye on the other two behind you, and he sort of approaches you. That's Captain, sir, if you will be so kind.
I apologize, Captain.
Could call me Dennis.
Captain Staggett, Eustace Staggett. And your name, sir?
Al-Cid Primanti, Captain. At your service.
I appreciate that, Mr. Primanti. We need all the service we can get in these times in Waterdeep. And he leans over and sees you, Nora, and then gives you a kind of a curt nod. Thank you for your attempt at assistance.
Just nod back.
If you're traveling in this ward regularly, a word of advice I will give you. You keep those weapons that you have at your hips locked securely there. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
Try not to get more of a reputation, if any, with these
Ruffians.
Zentarum scum.
Horrible bunch.
You let us deal with them. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
If we need your assistance, we'll ask for it.
Understood.
Very good. Now move along.
Take
move
that
on.
first step right away.
Yep.
Turn on my heel and just...
Long circle around.
Okay, sounds good. So, the four of you arrive at the Skewered Dragon. Sure enough, as Al-Cid described, it is basically this ramshackle ruin with, sure enough, a large ship's anchor embedded in the roof of the place. You come inside, and in a stark contrast from the yawning portal, the place is dark and gray on the interior. There are a handful of chipped chairs and slightly askew tables, spilled tankards, and lots of people either nursing their drinks or talking furtively.
Head up to the bar.
You're not actually going to drink here, are you?
I didn't drink in the last place.
You see a balding man in a simple shirt. He sees you. Oh, what can I get for you?
Three ales for me and my friend's place.
Kind of looks at you incredulously. You want the ale?
Oh, what would you recommend?
You joking?
Look, we're after a little information.
I was going to buy a drink first.
I'm sure we can buy some information off of him.
So he takes a look at the coin. Did you put a gold piece?
Yeah,
down?
gold
He
piece.
takes a look at that. I'll get you the best thing I got, huh? If it's information you're after, you're going to want to talk to Silverfingers over there. And he points and
Shoot a glance at him.
you can see sitting away from you, looking away from you, is this broad-shouldered dwarf with a sort of long black hair sitting at one of the nearby tables. Look,
You all enjoy your drinks. I'll be right back. I'll slink over to have a seat with Silverfingers.
okay. So you take a seat. So the bartender comes back and gives you this dark brownish green kind of swill in a tankard. Certainly smells like alcohol.
That's us.
I'm not drinking.
So you take a seat across from this character. He's got sure enough, it's a dwarven man with a smoothly oiled black beard, thick, with as you can see as you sit down, a multitude of silver rings all over his hands. He sort of sticks his chin out to you. Can I help you?
I hope so. I'm after some information.
He begins fiddling with one of his rings on his right hand. Well, you come to the right place. Ain't none of these darn fools gonna tell you nothing you can believe. If you want information that's truthful, you get it from me.
The 19th, one well-renowned Volo was here, drinking with someone else.
A pompous fellow with a mustache.
So you remember him?
Who doesn't remember Volo? Pompous git.
But what about his friend?
The red-haired fella? I seem to recall a person of that type. My memory is a little fuzzy.
Can I buy you a drink then?
I'll tell you what I can do.
I'll get 5 dragons out as he's telling me what I can do.
I need you to lose something. Coins or consciousness? Take your pick.
I admit you've got me curious. Why would you need me unconscious?
I get bored here in this good-for-nothing tavern. And I like to have exchanges of will and skill and fight and metal. Either physical or mental. So you got 2 options there. You can put your weapons down on the table here, and we'll get into an old-fashioned fist fight, see who the winner is. Or you can play a nice round of Sava.
I was about to suggest Dragon's Chest, but I suppose I can try.
Dragon's chest! That unbalanced bullshit! Nobody plays Dragon's chess. Sava's the way to go.
I'll play you a game then.
Very well. And he scoots himself back and approaches the bar. You see he interacts with the balding man, grabs this old dusty wooden case from the barkeep, brings it back, sets it on the table, cracks his fingers, and then opens it up, and you can see, sure enough, a board, much like that of a chessboard. You can actually notice, Rhys, that being at least partially drow, you know that you see that board open and you see the pieces that are being laid out, and you think, no, that's basically drow chess. So you have some familiarity with the game and the rules and everything like that. So Silverfingers begins setting this board up, and he explains, now I take it you have played Sava before, haven't you?
Yes.
Deception check.
Yep. Come on, dice.
Ooh,
Oh
nice.
yeah. 21?
Okay.
Was that a crit? Oh, no.
No, it's a 16.
So he takes a look at you and licks his lips and... Veteran player. Very good. Have you got 30 minutes? Let's play. So I need you, Nora, to make an intelligence check, a deception check, and an insight check.
Wow.
I'm good at 2 of those.
And keep the results of all 3 in mind. Got it?
Okay. I will write them down. Easy. So there's int, deception, and insight.
Int, deception, and insight. Yes.
So I'm going to be watching very closely.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I think we've gotten, like, at this point, like, after being like, no, I'm playing a game. I'm good.
I just want to make sure he's following the rules.
Fair. Alright, intelligence with a +0. 14. Good.
Just keep going.
Deception with a +5. For a total of 9.
So 9. So that's what?
Not great.
What did you say? 18? 15?
14 for intelligence.
14.
9 for deception so far.
14 and 9 for deception.
And then 14 on insight.
14 on insight. Very
Now
good.
the rolls are falling apart. Still not bad though. Just good bonuses.
So what's the total of those rolls for? It's 2 14s, so it's a 28, plus 9,
Would be 37.
37, is that right? Seems right to me. Leisure math. Okay. So, after about 30 minutes, and the lot of you are kind of like keeping an eye on this match of Sava, you can see these ebony pieces that look like drow warriors, mages, and priestesses being moved about. You can see that Silverfingers is having a little bit of difficulty moving the pieces elegantly. He's swaying just a little bit. And you see he's trying to, it looks like he's trying to attempt this sort of gambit, but failing to set it up properly. And you pretty fairly beat him after that 30 minutes. He takes a look at this, takes a look at the state of the board, and then sort of very gently knocks one of the priestesses over. All right. What do you want to know?
I want to know where that red-haired man went on the 19th.
Oh, is that all?
He seems to have disappeared.
I was there that night that Volo and his friend were having some drinks and gambling. They were playing 3 DragonHeist, if I recall, around midnight. Volo left after, a couple of drinks and a sore loss. And our friend the redhead stuck around and seemed to meet another friend who came in. I don't actually know the fella's name, but I'll tell you the strange thing. The 2 of them could have been brothers. Almost spitting images of each other.
Strange.
They had a little bit of a chat. And after that, at a drink or 2, they left. Now, that's not the end of the story, of course. I saw 5 of the fellas in this tavern get up around the same time and make their way out, seemingly following the pair.
Wouldn't happen to have any descriptions of these people, or maybe we're lucky enough you can point them out.
I can tell you that they all look like shit. They're pretty unremarkable. But I know where they like to hide out.
Where'd that be?
There's a warehouse, Candle Lane. You're gonna look for a snake symbol on the door. And I don't have to tell you what snakes mean, do I?
No.
Well,
You play a good game.
you play pretty well too. Come back sometime, we'll have another game. Or maybe that time I'll get to punch you in the face. Either way, we're guaranteed a lot of fun.
I definitely won't be coming back here for the drink.
bilge water. But it keeps the memories away.
Get up, hood back up, and approach the bar. Warehouse. With the symbol of a snake.
Well then. Seems to... Snake, that seems... Not a lot to go on, but I'm sure we can find it.
It's also not good news. When I hear snake, the first thing that pops to mind is Yong-Ti. Now, it could just be some snake charmers. But what are the odds?
It's time to make a some type of a cultural check of sorts to see if there's any like gang affiliation with a snake.
Any actual meaning behind
Sure,
the
yeah,
snake?
do an intelligence check. Lacking a sort of proper culture skill.
You want intelligence proper, or
Well, I can't see any other skills that really apply here.
that's totally cool.
Other than history, but that's sort of a catch-all skill. I would rather
No,
just
of
have raw
course.
intelligence. For
Mhm.
that.
Sure.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then a 17.
Okay, with a 17, you know that there are all kinds of organizations, businesses, and guilds and tea clubs and everything
Right.
that use all manner of symbols. And snakes are pretty common.
Absolutely.
But given the description of the men that apparently followed Floon and his similar-looking fellow out of the Skewered Dragon, and given the propensity of these characters to hang out at a warehouse in the dock ward, you got pretty good odds on this snake symbol being one of the most familiar ones in Waterdeep and across Faerun, being that of the Zentaur.
Okay, that's yeah. So, alright. Well, it's snakes.
Why is it always snakes?
Yeah, the same. I hate snakes. It could be a number of things, but if I had to put my money, it would be on our on the big Z. So,
Zentarum?
Yes.
Zerg?
No, Zorro.
the Zerg.
The Zerg.
Oh shit.
Shit, we need to construct additional pilots.
Right now, my life
Or ire.
for ire. Yeah.
So let's go
Shady
case the
bunch.
warehouse.
I
Oh,
assume.
we have to wait for...
No, I'm already there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of you converged on the Skewered Dragon.
Have any of you consorted with them before? I
No.
have.
I try not to.
Yeah, they're the bad dudes. You don't. They're not. They got this weird honor bound thing, but when you're in the club, you're in the club. But don't you don't double cross them. They're bad news. Anyway,
All of you, from having been in Waterdeep and knowing some, you know a little bit about the Zentarum. You know that they are tricky folk. They're not outright evil per se.
but they're a criminal organization.
They take what they want through extra legal and sometimes illegal means. And their whole thing is about power and secrecy, and their motivations accordingly are not always pure of heart. You know, out of all the factions that sort of make their way through Faerun, they're one of the least on the up and up.
Yeah, that's all I can really tell you. Besides maybe a few people I've dealt with, but warehouse, correct?
And maybe we want to be a little light on our feet on this one. I'm sure we don't want to be getting a name for ourselves this early.
If we can avoid brandishing some of the weapons, I'm sure it'll go a long way. Nothing.
Do you think they're done with magic?
Possibly.
I was thinking we could just get a little airflow going.
See?
And it's quiet.
Too quick. So,
They must be opening booster packs.
So you've got a location, Candle Lane, which you know is from what you understood, it was an area that is
Near Penny Lane.
Sure, that's the one.
Between the roundabout and the barber shop.
So you have a good idea now of, where this place is. You know it's in the dock ward. You know it's in kind of a seedier section. Do you head there right away after leaving the Skewered Dragon?
I think so. There's nothing else we need to do, right?
Head out and go like maybe a block and a half, and then let's make sure we're not being followed. Duck into an alley, wait to see if anybody passes, and pop out the other side.
Okay, everybody make me stealth checks with advantage.
Wow.
22.
22,
10. It's my best skill.
10. Clearly.
What's the bonus? 23.
23,
16.
16. Okay, so a lot of you duck into an alley and give a moment for some people, a scant amount of people to sort of walk by either to or from a tavern, surely.
At this time of night?
You give a few minutes, and then as you step back out, Rhys, you see Nora, Raven, and Al-Cid all kind of pour out and hook around the corner. And then you get up to the junction between this alleyway and the greater street. And you take a moment and then turn around, and suddenly you are met with another human body. You collide with each other, and there is a huge spray of what look like leaflets of papers. They are around in the air. And you realize that you have been knocked down by a young copper-haired man in what looks like a City Watch uniform. And this fellow is now sort of trying to dust himself off and gathering all of the papers together. Oh, gosh darn it, I am so sorry, sir. Will you just give me a minute here, please? I'm going to collect all these. My apologies. I didn't see where I was going here. Got too busy in my business. Godfrey Balder. Pleasure to meet you, sir.
Rhys, Arnum, nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you, Rhys. Well, now that I have your attention in sort of a roundabout way, if I can offer you one of these here leaflets, and he hands it to you, and you can see that on this leaflet of paper is a printed copy of Waterdeep's Code Legal. And a lot of you have not moved away enough. You can see how this exchange has happened. You haven't left.
No.
You're a couple of feet away. And he sort of cranes his neck and sees the three of you. Hello there, sirs, madams. If you haven't taken one of these leaflets, I'd encourage you to do so, especially if you're new to the area. And he sort of quickly deals out 3 and walks
I already
over.
have one, thank you.
All right. You, ma'am? You, sir?
I'm good. Have my own.
Just doing my daily rounds, making sure that everybody is aware of Waterdeep and how they handle the law. I know there are some people who make their way around either for tourism or business, and they often run afoul of that law that they weren't even aware of. And unfortunately, that is often the case because, most law here is reactionary. It's not really preventative, exactly. Sometimes people just simply don't know there's a law that they're breaking. Now, do you know that on Founders Day, it's actually illegal to buy fish in the Seaward?
Interesting.
Hell if I know why. That's just one of them laws. All right?
Let me ask you, do you normally distribute leaflets here in the dock ward?
Oh, well, this is my first time here in the dock ward. I've been making my way around distributing these leaflets in all of the various districts here in Waterdeep. Some of the, the less fancy ones, some of the other City Watch members are doing that. So
this is your first day in the dock?
I'm not a constable yet. I'm I'm in the probationary period. You understand? So like,
You keep it up, and you will be someday.
well, thank you, sir. I do appreciate that. So I'm put in these districts that are a little less
Glamorous.
Sure, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Very,
So is
very.
this your first day in the dock ward then?
Yes, that is correct, sir. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to make sure that you folks were okay and that you were aware of the law, especially some of the more obscure points of that law.
Well, we are now, thanks to you.
You be careful out here. It does have a reputation.
Oh, of course, sir. I've heard a lot of tales about the dock ward, but hopefully they will. And he sort of pats his uniform. Hopefully they'll be thinking twice about messing with a probationary constable of the City Watch.
Hopefully so.
Well, you folks have a good day now.
You as well.
You too.
And you see him gathering up a paper or two. He's gathered them all together, and he sort of strides his way down the street, continuing to hand leaflets out to people making their way across the sidewalks.
Once he's out of earshot, I say, he's going to wind up dead in the gutter.
Most likely. Bless his spirit.
You continue making your way through the dock ward until you come across this gloomy, narrow alley. It is incredibly cramped, dark as a dungeon. And there's this foul odor sort of sweeping in from the alley. Nearly all the street lamps in this alley have been smashed. In fact, the only way you can tell that this is really an alley in the middle of the day, due to the heavy, leaning, cramped buildings around it that are almost essentially cutting off most of the sunlight. There is one faint light flickering from down the lane, like a distant candle.
Are we close to our suspected location?
You've just come onto Candle Lane. You knew there was a warehouse on Candle Lane, but you're uncertain of exactly where on the lane.
Why don't I go check out the alley? This is my kind of place.
Be my guest.
By all means, Raven.
Okay, Raven,
Exercise your talents.
do you want to do like investigation or perception?
Perception would be better.
Okay.
But I get double my efficiency bonus because I am in my...
It's urban. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, now you will
Woof.
be doing it with disadvantage, however, unless you're coming in with a light source.
I have dark vision.
No problem then. So it's a regular roll.
So keep a watch from the end of the alley.
Okay, so
Make sure
23.
nothing jumps out.
43, you said?
23.
23. Okay.
Woof.
I have to ask. So, your eyes quickly adjust to the darkness, and sure enough, you can see what looks like a single street lamp still intact a couple of feet down the lane. But you can tell that it doesn't look like there's a candle or oil burning in there. That looks like a magic flame or something like that. Someone's cast a spell on that street lamp to continuously put out light. You do notice that down the way, about 10 feet ahead, off to the left-hand side, is this dingy-looking warehouse. And you can see that the casting light of the single remaining street lamp is illuminating this kind of ramshackle door to this warehouse. And just above the handle, you can notice this symbol that's been painted just above the door handle onto this ramshackle door. It's a black winged snake.
I think I found our
This
place.
is the place we're looking for.
Good stuff.
And that light down there, it's magic. Not something you see in this area too often.
So there's money or power.
Yes.
All right. Think there might be a back way in?
Only one way to find out.
Yeah.
I can scout ahead.
Case the joint.
So you, now that your eyes have adjusted to the darkness of Candle Lane, you can see that this is abandoned. There's nobody here. The place is dry. So you could conceivably just make your way up the 15 feet or so to the door of the warehouse and try to get in.
Alright. Wanna try to get in, have a look around, see if we can find anything?
Sure.
Awfully jumpy.
Look for a trap first.
There's the caution I was expecting.
As you're approaching and your eyesight is getting, sharper and more detail oriented, you can see that the warehouse is behind this high fence. There was a series of gaps that were allowing light to pour in and illuminate the symbol and the portions of a door, but you can see that if you're going to want to come in through the front door, you'd probably have to scale this fence. Now, it looks like the gate on the fence isn't locked. That's your initial read, anyway. You can also see a large loading door off to the side, and what looks like that probably looks like a window that's either been painted over or has been obscured by some kind of fabric or material.
Well, looks like we got 3 choices on entry. What would you suggest?
Well, let's check out each one and see what we find.
Alright. Who wants to go to the fence? Who wants to go to the loading door? And who wants to go to the window?
So all 3 of these things are sort of nestled into. There's the building itself, and then the fence kind of creates a kind of a corner that houses the.
So you have to go through the fence first.
Yeah, you'll have to go through the fence and then try to get, try to find your means of ingress.
Right.
I guess is the word.
Let's check out the fence, see if there's a trap.
Okay, so give me a investigation check. How about that?
21.
Yep, just looks like a ramshackle wooden fence. There is a sort of a gate portion that is on some kind of metal hinge, and sure enough, the bolt to lock it is just free. It's just free, so you just can push just right on in and go inside.
Okay.
You see, there's some patches of dried, desiccated-looking grass that covers this small yard, essentially, but otherwise. The place looks pretty empty. You don't see any lights coming from either the cracks in the warehouse door or any of the visible windows. The place looks dark.
Slide in, and once everybody's in, close and lash the gate behind us.
Yep.
Follow their lead.
Okay, so you're standing before this area. The long loading door is to your right, and then directly in front of you, a couple of feet ahead, is what looks like the front door or some kind of office door meant for the general public.
Let's check that window first.
Okay. So, what do you want to do with the window? So we're going to get an idea of.
Well, I want to check for traps definitely, but see if we weren't quite sure what was obscuring it. So see if we can figure that out. If it looks like it's a way in or not.
Okay. So the window itself is just off to the right-hand side of this warehouse loading door, and it's about 15 feet off the ground.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, let's check the door.
You go over the door?
Mm-hmm.
So what do? Do you want to just kind of get a look at it, or are you interacting with the door?
Is there an obvious way to open it?
Yes, there's a handle.
Okay. Check for traps again.
Okay. Investigation.
15.
Now, how do you go about checking for traps? Are you doing it purely visually, or are you actively interacting
I would
with it?
say both. I would say visually first, but if I don't see anything visually, then I'll
Engage.
feel. Yeah.
Okay, do you do so... I assume you do so quietly.
Oh, yeah.
Or just like with a light touch.
Right.
Okay, so you look at the door. Seems to be fine. No obvious mechanisms. You trace your fingers across the connection between the door frame and the door itself. Seems fine. Locked, but fine.
Locked. Well, it's time for thieves' tools.
Do you actually have some?
Yep.
Oh, as rogue, you get to start with them, right?
Yep.
Nice.
Gonna try to do a thieves' tools?
Absolutely.
Okay, thieves' tools check, please.
10.
Come on, dice.
Again.
Just
One of my
10,
best skills.
you said?
Yeah.
Even with your...
I rolled a 5 plus 5.
That's dex bonus and proficiency?
Yes.
Okay. So you are trying... You insert your rake and file, and you're trying to lock it. And you fiddle there for what seems like 3 or 4 minutes, and it's just not coming
It's
up.
not happening. Well,
Let's try the bigger door.
yeah, definitely.
Head over, look for some sort of like opening mechanism.
It looks like from the outside there doesn't seem to be any way to open this loading door. However, there is a thin strip of space in between the essentially the floor of the building and the ground and what looks like the very bottom of the loading door, which looks like if you were able to slide something into there, something thin, probably thinner than a hand, you'd be able to either use it as a lever to kind of prop the door open. It seems like the door is in a little bit of disrepair. It's slightly off kilter and slightly off of the ground.
Can I have an H hand?
Pop the jacket open and pull a crowbar out.
Okay. So give me a strength, we'll do an athletics check.
Oh, it's still not great.
And you can do that with advantage because you have the crowbar.
It's still not great. Okay, that's a 7, and that's a 9.
So a 9, you said?
Yep.
Okay. So you insert the crowbar. It's just the tip there is thin enough. You can hook it under. And you begin to push down the other side, trying to generate the necessary force. And this thing is just not budging.
Raven,
Yeah.
want to help out?
So can I try the crowbar?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to give it a shot. Yeah.
Okay.
Same check.
Come on, dice.
So I got a 15.
A 15, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. So you usher Nora out of the way, grab the crowbar, force down, and sure enough, you're able to, with the crowbar acting as a kind of like a lever, you're able to open the garage door, the warehouse door, I should say, significantly up. Not all the way up, obviously, because at that point, the crowbar is only so big, right? But you're able to put quite a few, what looks like probably about maybe 1.5 feet of space in between
Should be enough to
the garage.
get under.
So you could probably, if you kind of squeeze yourself and go horizontal, you could probably slide in under.
Okay, I'm gonna try that.
Okay, so there's no need for like a dexterity check or anything. You can take the time to kind of squeeze in under there. So you adjust your armor and your weapons and everything like that and slide underneath the door. And inside, you can see, Raven, that this warehouse is full of large crates and barrels, each of them with varying sort of tags on them describing what they are, saying fragile and that sort of thing.
I need all your gunpowder. Trust me.
All bits of shipments. But the most remarkable thing is towards the middle of this room, you can see that various tables and chairs look like they have been carelessly tossed across the floor. And you can see, lying along the right-hand wall, a dozen men. Slumped up against the side wall, all dead. Rapiers and daggers in a pile nearby.
Do they have any obvious wounds?
Yes.
Retrieve the crowbar and slide under. Oh. Well, I wasn't expecting this.
I think we're all getting in there as soon as we can, right?
So a lot of you pour in and you notice that this is a significantly, it's a pretty sizable warehouse. You can see off to the left, beyond a large crate, you can see some stairs that lead up to what look like the upper level.
Are any of these guys floating?
What's that?
Are any of these guys floating?
No.
How long
You don't
ago
recognize
does it look like it happened?
You can give me a medicine check if you want to tell.
Hey, 4.
Nice.
These guys
I'm
died.
pretty sure they're alive, guys.
These guys died within the last 1,000
Century.
years. Yes.
At least it wasn't 2,000.
Narrowing it down a bit.
I
Got
know
it down to
much
the
better.
millennium.
When's the start, right?
Oh, I'll admit, ladies and gentlemen, that this is.
What'd you say?
I didn't do much better.
Okay. Yeah, they're clearly dead. It looks like some severe wounds. And not in a, well, I can tell you right away as you're looking at it, not in a surgical way. It looks like there
Hack
was,
and slash.
they were hacked and or slashed.
Do they look like weapon wounds or natural weapons?
They look like weapon wounds.
Okay.
That much you're very, yeah, you're all being trained in weapons. You're very clear. These are weapon wounds.
Any of the rapiers better than mine?
As you're looking around, no, they seem to be all standard issue rapiers and daggers. Common people's, weapons. Nothing of any great either gold value or battle worth. You
So
do,
there are
however,
daggers too, though, right?
yes.
Any that look like they're balanced for throwing?
Some of these daggers look like they could conceivably be thrown. Sure.
I'll pick up 4 of them if I can.
Okay, yeah, no, there are 4 there.
Nora's going to make her way up to that second floor you mentioned.
Okay. So you make your way up the stairs onto this second floor area.
Trying to be light on her feet.
This place,
I'll go
okay.
with her.
Both of you give me stealth checks then if you're trying to be light on your feet.
Just look around the warehouse.
13.
13, you said?
18.
18? All right. So this place is stacked with crates. It's overlooking the main warehouse. It's this sort of lip that is curling around the building proper. You can see that some of these crates are open. You can see that sort of stuffing material is inside, cradling what look like bottles of olive oil that, judged on the smell, are probably spoiled by now. Wooden-soled sandals, hundreds of pairs of them. Moth-eaten bolts of cloth, all sort of like abandoned goods. And it looks like none of this stuff is immediately valuable to you. It all looks like just junk that's either very clearly ruined or is simply
Trade goods.
past its sell-by date. Yes, and you can see that these are all trade goods. It looks like things that are being bought and sold in bulk.
Does it look like there's an office or something that has a manifest?
It looks like that there is a. As you're going up the stairs and turning to the left and kind of making your way through, you can see that off in the sort of the western, the northern portion of the building, you see that there's a door that looks like it leads into some kind of additional room
Okay.
up here on the upper floor.
I'll try going into that.
Okay. So you find that the door itself is open.
Okay.
And as you're going through, right? You're opening the door and heading on through.
I want to check it for traps first.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Give me an investigation, please.
Surprise, it's a poison dart.
11?
With an 11? Okay. It seems to be a pretty standard issue sort of warehouse door, wood and iron band and so on. You do notice that there is what looks like a steel bell kind of hanging over the door, mounted against the wall just above the door.
So it looks like it would ring if I open the door.
It doesn't look like it's connected in any way. It just looks like it's free mounted just above the door.
Okay, so I open the door and go in.
Okay. You open the door, and sure enough, the bell just above the door begins to ring loudly. Bong, 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 bong. And then Nora, as you are, so where were you as our friend Raven was making her way into the offices?
Assuming there's like supplies up on second floor, probably just like eyeing them. but
Sure.
Still in that kind of central area, if there is one.
So yeah, you're taking a look around, and You hear that bong, 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 and you turn to see where that's coming from. You see the steel bell rocking back and forth and sounding just above the door that Raven just went through. And then you hear what sounds like, ah! And coming out from the various crates and barrels are what look like 4 Kenku.
Oh, great.
Dressed in sort of leather rags and carrying short swords, each of which is still bloody.
Raven, we're gonna have a talk about magic after this. And
found our
prep and ready.
assassin.
Right,
Do we,
found the
are
assassin.
Kinku?
Birdfolk.
Well, yes, but I guess are they common amongst? I forget in Faerun if they're like if people know.
They're one of the less common races,
There would be a few at least in Waterdeep.
but people are aware of them. Like, oh, it's a
They
Kenku.
are so cool. Dan played. I really liked that.
Yeah, what was that character's name?
He did it really well, where he just replicated sounds
Yeah.
as a speech.
Yeah.
Well, that's what actually would,
Yeah.
by default, Kenku can only like mimic
Mimic. Yeah.
sounds that they've heard before. And they can speak in their own sort of bird language, of course. But. All right, so that is where we will pick up for our next session. It's at 9:57. Got our time?
Nice.
Time of death. Confirmed.
So I think we're starting with combat next time.
That's right. As the Kenku have already had their swords drawn and are sort of making their way towards Nora, trying to skewer her.
Yeah. Keep your birds at a distance.
Bads.
Prepare the birds.
All right. Well, here you are. Steven, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so thank you all for coming.
Thank you for
Thank you.
running.
Thoughts about the
was good.
the game today?
I like it.
Good start.
In a seemingly somewhat usual fashion, the character I envisioned and the execution of the character I decided to play are vastly different. But it's totally fine.
Well, it
It's
happens.
just, it's just funny, you never like you have an idea of how you want to do something, then like once you actually start like getting into it, it's like,
You
okay,
never know.
actually I think I like.
It's like when you get that idea for a character, and you're like, man, one of these days I'm going to play X.
Yeah.
And every time you sit down to play D&D, you're like, no, not this time.
Yeah.
Always something else. I'm going to play a wizard.
Because I had in my head
Nah,
the idea to play something more scheming and then play someone more like businessy.
I mean,
That's generally
it's
Well,
schemy
there's-
adjacent.
Well,
There's
yeah,
still
yeah.
time to do that. There's still that facet of your personality.
sure. Yeah, I think I just like from I think I have a very solid idea how I want to approach this. Where it was like, okay, a little way different, but I also do like this more. So
I like what you do. It's always nice to have like the calendar. One of those weird,
Yeah.
just little details where
Yeah.
it's like, I could actually say when Volo said he went there 2 days ago,
Yeah.
what
Right.
day it was.
handouts.
Nice.
Handouts
Handouts
great.
are always
I think it especially important given the content of this campaign, just to keep yourself apprised of what you need to know in such a particular place as Waterdeep.
Were you pulling stuff off Reddit?
Mhm.
What was it you were? I was just trying to figure out, like, not without like prying, like what it is you were using Reddit with and adjacent to the campaign.
There is across a couple of different boards, DMs in reading and running Dragon Heist have been going like, okay, well my players expected this,
Right.
and the module delivered this, so like, what if we tossed this in here, or what if we rejiggered this bit?
Oh,
like,
cool.
And so I've been looking at that stuff and being like, oh no, that's like a great
That
best
is
practice.
super. That is awesome.
So I've been looking at Reddit threads and DM's Guild stuff and like just tossing it all together and mashing it up and making a stew for you.
That's